Good morning. 8:02. How are you all? Good to see you. Let's see if some people jump on here. Have me unplugged again today. Sorry, I'm just not. This isn't a good few weeks with the dog, with me sleeping in. So I'm not jumping out of bed at, and getting all camera ready. Sorry, you guys. Today we are in chapter 39, 38, sorry. We're in chapter 38, and that is page 106 if you have your books. And this is actually day 70 of our time together. Can you believe that? Over 2 months. In fact, that would be, with the couple days that we've skipped, we're almost at 10 weeks of this Bible study. This is really good for us to be in the Word through such a difficult time that we're in as a nation. Good morning, and hi, Gail. And it's exactly what the enemy doesn't want for us to do is to get fed and to feed ourselves and to hear from him every single day. So bravo, you guys. You are, yeah, it's just so good that you're hanging in there and going through this every day. And I just am proud of you. Proud of me. I'm proud that I'm thankful that we have the word. My goodness, such a gift. Such a gift. So yeah, we're going to get started here. And this is all about the life of Tamar and what happened to this woman. And it's a story inserted into the story of Joseph. Like, why? I don't know. We'll read here in the notes an explanation. Thank you for, oh, you're welcome, Gail. I don't know why this story is inserted here, but it is, and just kind of keeps us abreast of what's happening in other people's lives around Joseph. So it involves Judah and Tamar, and Judah's the brother of Joseph, who actually had the idea of selling him to the Midianite merchants. And so that was kind of a bummer that he was thinking only of making a few shekels, 20 shekels of silver and getting rid of his brother. Kind of tells you maybe where his heart is at. And then this chapter kind of just, he sinks the whole boat. So I don't know. Sometimes we read things about people that are like their biggest, hugest regret, their biggest failure in their life. I think God lets us see this because He wants us to know that He loves us and that He has grace. So we're definitely now in a covenant of grace, unlike these people here that we're not quite yet and their lives ended. I think it just gives us perspective, and it should give us grateful hearts to see how other people lived, even in the Bible, and that nobody was perfect. I think that's been proved over and over in this book. Um, and God is ever able to handle all of our situations if we would just come to Him and do the right thing. But sometimes people don't choose to do the right thing. So, who else is on here with me? Hello. Okay, the story of Judah and Tamar, chapter 38, page 106. Around that time, Judah left his brothers at Hebron and went to Adullam to stay with a man named Hira. Hira means pale face or fading. There he met and married a Canaanite girl, the daughter of Shua. He slept with her, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and Judah named him Er. She conceived again and gave birth to another son and named him Onan. While they were staying in Chezib, she gave birth to a third son and named him Shelah. So is not in here, the name of the meaning of it, but Oman means strong or vigorous, and Sheila means a request. It means to ask for something. All right. So when their sons, they have three sons now, Oman, and Sheila. When their sons were grown, Judah arranged for the oldest son, to marry a girl named Tamar. Here's where Tamar enters the picture. Tamar actually was the daughter of Noah's son Shem. So remember the descendants of Noah. One of the sons' name was Shem, and this is his daughter, Tamar. Okay, so then it says, but had become so wicked in the sight of Yahweh that Yahweh ended his life. So he was no longer taking the whole planet out with a flood. He was just ending people's lives that had become so wicked that probably concerned that they would infect the peoples around them. So then Judah said to Er's brother Onan, your duty is to join yourself to her. Go perform your duty as a brother-in-law and provide an heir for your brother. So at that time, the custom, which is called Levirate marriage, um, was later adopted into Hebrew law. That's in Deuteronomy 25. It was a disgrace, actually, for a dead man's living brothers to fail to have children with the widow of the deceased. So that's interesting to me, having been widowed. And my husband had a half or has a half brother, but in no way would I have wanted anyone to try to. Uh, well, he was married anyway. But that was just their tradition and their culture to um, bring the widow into the household and the care of the brother of the deceased. And actually, it's rather kind, for them to not be fending for themselves and be on their own. So, okay, so Onan, however, didn't want to go along with this. So he didn't want to produce a child that would not be his own rightful heir. So whenever he and Tamar had intercourse, Onan purposely spilled his semen onto the ground to keep her from getting pregnant. Oh my goodness. And having a child that would belong to his dead brother. But what he did was also wicked in Yahweh's sight. And guess what? Yahweh took Onan's life also. Whew. Okay. Then Judah said to his daughter in law Tamar, live as a widow. Good idea. Live as a widow in your father's house until my youngest son Shelah grows up. There's going to be a kind of a gap there. But okay, so Tamar went home to her parents. Judah worried that Shelah would end up dead like his brother, so he kind of had this seed of fear that if he submitted his son to Tamar for a wedding and for producing an heir, there might be another death in his family. So that seed of fear did not allow him, is what blocked him from keeping his word, because we see later that he actually didn't give her the third son. After some time passed, Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. When his time of mourning was over, he and his friend Hira and Adulamite went to Timnah to enjoy the festivities at the sheep shearing. Meanwhile, Tamar had learned that Shelah had grown up. Okay, the boy has grown up into a man now, but Judah had still not given him to her to father a child for her deceased husband. So when Tamar found out her father-in-law was coming, this is her father-in-law, it's her father-in-law. She finds out that he's coming to Timnah for the sheep shearing. She removed her widow's clothes. So she was in a definite outward, um, you would know outwardly that she'd been widowed from what she was wearing. And she covered herself with a veil to disguise herself. So she dressed differently. And she went out and sat, waiting at the crossroads where Judah would have to pass by. So she went outside the city and sat down with a veil over her face and waited for Judah. She was going to have this kid come hell or high water. When Judah saw her, she was wearing a veil over her face, so he thought she was a prostitute. He had no clue that she was his own daughter in law. So he approached her and said, "Come sleep with me." I just have a problem with this paragraph. How about you? I just have to stop here and shake my head. And, there's many places in Genesis that we're stopping and shaking our heads. Like, what? You're just going to be widowed and go find a prostitute and forget that God is with you and has always been with you and is watching over your life and your family, and you're going to just go do this? Um, well, it's easy I mean, I really started thinking about this and I thought, that is, okay, I don't know how common that is. I'm not even going to try to figure that out right now. I don't think it's as common as, say, to do something like this, have something like pornography going on in your home. I'll just say that the Lord brought this to my heart for somebody today, that even though you're not out sleeping with another person, there is something unholy and unclean that is affecting your children. That's what I'm trying to get to, because Tamar's like his child. And so everything that he's about to do, sinning with her, is something that is like a sin against her. Yes, she has a part in it for putting herself out there and disguising herself and trying to take matters into her own hands. She's not innocent, and he certainly didn't know. He didn't know who he was sleeping with. And every time this happens in the book of Genesis, I think, really, was the veil on? There's so many veiled women that they sleep with, and then they're either drunk or something, and they don't know who they've slept with. And I think, really, you don't know this person, you know, their voice, the sound of, I mean, I don't get it, but um, um, but I wrote some questions here, and it's not meant I don't know what it's meant to do. I just felt like I wanted to bring this out. And that is, are you sleeping with your own kin? Is there something unholy that's going on between you, and especially between a parent or a grandparent and a child or a grandchild? That is something that is bringing something, like, maybe just movies. I even thought about that, how an R-rated movie, or even worse, is played in your home and they see it, and a child sees it. There's something that can taint. There's unholy stuff that the Lord is bringing to light today through this union, this unholy union of um, Judah and Tamar. And so I just wanted to ask you that. And if you are the spouse of a spouse that this might be happening with, this is the day that the Lord is bringing it to light, because you're on here and you're watching this. And especially if it's pornography, I really feel like there is a release from God there's a repentance that can happen, and then there's a supernatural release from the bondage of it. And the whole why behind it, the reason that you'll be propelled or your spouse will be propelled is for the sake of your children. There's other people involved, and you want to clean up your home. That's what the Lord is saying. And so I don't ever have to know if any of you took this to heart. You can take this word to the Lord. You can talk with me about it if it's something that resonated or you need help with or praying with. I'd be happy to help you, but it's not something I'm trying to meddle in. I'm just trying to give you the word that God gave me for today, which is this is your day in these scriptures, in this part of Genesis that the Lord wants to set you free, set your household free. And I'm even talking about reading materials, novels, and just junk on TV or Netflix that God is going after today. Because, and again, the big why, WHY, is your why will be for your children's sake. So let's not be um, let's not be Judas. Come on, we are better than this. Let's not be like Judah. All right, so Judah saw her. She was wearing a veil, so he thought she was a prostitute. He had no clue she was his own daughter in law, so he approached her and said, "Come sleep with me." "What will you give me if I do?" she answered. He responded, "I will send you a young goat from the flock." "What guarantee can you give me that you'll really send it?" she asked. Well, and she's talking to him. He can hear her voice, so I don't understand why he doesn't know who she is. "Well, what pledge do you want?" Judah asked. Tamar answered, "Give me your necklace with your personal signet and your staff you're holding." Like she's saying, leave your wallet and your keys with me to ensure that you're going to pay me for this. Or, just leave your car parked outside until you get back. I don't know. It's just so much shenanigans going on here right now. And I do want to say one more thought before I forget. There are some families where this kind of thing is actually going on. This kind of incest in Christian homes, in homestead, things that shouldn't be going on. And definitely, if you have that going on in your family, there needs to be action taken for the sake of the child. And I'm thinking of a family that I know that this actually did happen and there was action taken, and the ramifications were like shock waves and an earthquake that just went out. That was horrific, but it had to be done for the sake of the children. And so there needs to be a really a reckoning here with if that is going on. So God give you strength. He will. All right. So then she gave them to her. He gave them to her, and he went and slept with her. So he gives her his necklace with his signet ring and the staff that he uses, his personal staff to walk with. When she got up and went home, she removed her veil and put her widow's garment back on. And later she discovered she was pregnant. Now, later means at least a month went by till she saw that she was not having her period. And soon afterward, why did it take a month? I don't know. Judah sent the young goat by his friend Hira, the turning pale guy. No wonder he was turning pale. The Adulamite, to recover his items from the prostitute. But She was nowhere to be found. So he asked the townspeople, "Where's the temple prostitute that sits by the crossroads?" They answered, "No prostitute has been there. We don't know what you're talking about." So he returned to Judah and informed him, "I couldn't find her, and besides that, the townspeople said that no prostitute has been there." Uh-oh. Uh-oh, right, Pepper? Judah replied, "Let her keep my pledge. Just let her keep my stuff then. If we go get it now, we'll become a laughing stock." Never mind, God. What about God? Talking to him. "After all, I did send you with the payment I promised her, and you couldn't find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has been promiscuous, and now she is pregnant." Indignant. Oh, Judah becomes indignant. Oh, this is how our hearts are revealed, isn't it? He doesn't even know it's him, and he's so angry at Tamar. Indignant, he says, "Bring her out and let her be burned." Oh, let her be burned. Hmm. As she was being brought out, she sent word to her father-in-law, and this was the word she said: "Look, the one who owns these things got me pregnant. See whose signet and staff are these?" Judah recognized them as his and said, "Wow, she's more righteous than me. I never gave my son Sheila to marry her." He knew what the root of the sin was. He knew what fear had bossed him around and brought him to this point of sin. He let her go free and never slept with her again. Well, I hope not. But yes, he let her go free. And when it came time for her to give birth, she had twins in her womb. While she was in labor, one hand popped out, so the midwife wrapped a crimson thread around its wrist, saying, "This one came out first." But immediately he drew his hand back, and out came his brother. And she said, "Look how you've broken out of the womb." So he was named Perez. You have friends whose last name is Perez? I do. Perez means the one who breaks through. You tell them that. They're the breakthrough. That's beautiful. Afterward, his brother came out, the one with the crimson thread on his wrist. That's why they named him Zerah. And Zerah is the crimson one. So that's all of 38. What a story. Let's see if there's something in the notes that I don't want to skip that is important. Um, let's see here. So it says in verse 11 that Judah had lost two of his sons, and Onan, sorry, and he never had any intention of losing his third one. So it wasn't just fear; it really was a decision he made. And then we remember from before that when sheep shearing season came, that was a time of celebration, and they had lots of festivities going on, and that's why he came to town or came into the area. So maybe there was some drinking going on. I don't know. His signet is a cylinder seal, and the center is hollowed out, and a cord passed through it so that the seal could be worn around his neck. When the cylinder was rolled over soft clay, the resultant impression served as a means of identifying personal possessions. and of sealing and legitimizing clay documents. Isn't that incredible? So it was like his signature. She had his signature. It was a highly personal object that performed the function of a signature in that society. Um, I don't know why he gave it over to her. I just don't get it. So then let's read about verse 26 when it says, Judah recognized them as his and said, she's more righteous than I, for I never gave her my son Shelah to marry her, and he let her go free and never slept with her again. The notes say that he didn't know her again, which is a Hebrew figure of speech for having sex with her. And in chapters 38 and 39, which is 39 is where we'll be tomorrow, we have two contrasting accounts of lust and the evil that it spawns. So evil is spawned through lust. Lust is something that we live with in our society as just a regular thing. It's just like a brother in our society, and it needs to be recognized for what it is. And we need to be very diligent about keeping our hearts free from lust because it will spawn um, evil. Um, why did Joseph is, I'm sorry, Brian Simmons is saying, why did the writer insert this chapter in here about Tamar? Why this abrupt interruption of the incredible story of Joseph, and why did God include this chapter to his inspired word? Why did he want us to know about Tamar and Judah? One reason is that God wanted to paint a contrast between Judah's unwise choices and immorality. This is the brother of Joseph that decided to sell him into slavery, and Joseph's righteous character, which is revealed in the chapter we'll read tomorrow. So there's a huge contrast here. One fearing God and one not fearing God. And that back then was the marker, that was the pre meeting Jesus and having Holy Spirit relationship with God was the absolute fear and knowledge that you're under the careful watch of a holy God that's on your side and for you, that really wants you to live upright and righteous and do what is good in the land. So that's why the chapter's in there, and I think that's the end. That's all we're going to talk about today. Tomorrow we'll read about Joseph coming into Potiphar's household and how he becomes his servant. And I was just going to stop here for a minute and ask if anybody had any other comments. Thank you, Gail, for all your comments. I'm not sure who's on here with us, but we love you and are blessed that anyone would jump on at any time, even afterwards. And sometimes what we're reading is heavier. Today feels like a heavier day where God is trying to dig up things that will have a really bad effect in us and in our families. So we need to be on the lookout and the watch for these things. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Praise you, Jesus. Day 70. Passion Translation, Genesis. Just love, love, love this word. I hope that you all have a really good day. It is Thursday, isn't it? Yeah. I've had the privilege of taking plates of cookies to the police department and then yesterday to the sheriff's department. I have not fed the homeless in about 10 days because of taking care of my dog and being kind of wiped out from that. But manage to bake some cookies and just want to say, hi, Michelle. I just want to say that if the Lord inspires you to do the same or something similar, brownies, I don't know, um, at least here in our town, the welcome that I got when I went to the door, they're closed because of COVID. You have to ring a bell, and then someone comes to the door, and then they decide if you look like a person they can take cookies from, I guess. Um, but the actual humility and the brokenness and everything that I saw on the face of the one woman at the police department and the one woman at the sheriff's department really propelled me into wanting to continue. I'm going to do another batch and find some more first responders that I want to encourage because I feel like one man's choice has given them a grievous road recently. And I am so concerned for our law enforcement that they feel. I just want them to know that there are people that appreciate them. It goes without saying that, of course, all of the world knows that what took place was murder and was wrong, and it is grievous what happened. But we want to shore up the people who are having to pay the price for that man's murderous actions and give them love and appreciation and the benefit of the doubt and some grace and all come in the form of a chocolate chip cookie. It really does heal hearts. I saw yesterday and the day before um, the response was like you like if someone met you at the door and just looked at you and said, "You have no idea." Sorry, I'm gonna cry. You have no idea what this means to us. So I didn't know that was gonna happen. I didn't know that there would be such a hard connection with a plate of cookies, but they insisted on getting my address so that they could send me a thank you card, and that was not what I was there for to be thanked. I was trying to thank them. I also want to mention again that a few days ago, I think it's been like 5 days ago, my sister and I, Gail, that's on here, went to 2 points in our city that had um, been under great um, strain with the protests, and we made declarations. And, I have this incredible list of declarations that we used over our city that I can easily um, forward to you. And you can go out in your car and you can do it in your car. Just sit at the junctures, maybe the gates, the points of entry into your city, um, and make these declarations. They're very powerful. So the power of the spoken word, you know, and I think we'll be doing that again very soon. Let me see. So they will let them receive food from people. I thought about it, but yes, they did. They actually said, one lady said, we usually don't do this. We don't accept it, but in the times like this that we're going through, we need this, or we will take it from you. And I saw them eating them, like people were grabbing them. So I made a joke on my timeline that I don't even know if a cookie reached an officer because I don't know if the ladies in the office shared. So let's move on. Yes, Gail's saying great favor on us today. as we move into our day. Thursday, my daughter's going to work, and then I start work at 2:30. And is anyone else working today? Actually, I'm supposed to do a toddler music class here in about an hour, so I better get going. Love you all. Have a great day. Bye. Stay in touch with me.